I was first diagnosed when I was 34 years old. The children were 3 and 5 and very, very young, obviously, and probably at an age where they wouldn't have understood an awful lot that we would have told them had they been older. They did come in and see me when I was going through my transplant, but only once or twice because I couldn't cope with them in there as much as anything, but also it was a hard thing to see me looking that poorly. But the children have really grown with it over the years. They've slowly realised a little bit more about what myeloma is. They now know that it's cancer. We've slowly dripped the information into them, which I think has meant that they're not scared about it, they're not concerned about what the future holds. It does impact them. I can't lie and say it doesn't at all. If I'm poorly, it stops us from doing certain things, but that may be once or twice a year that they see me, ill, and actually I could have been ill like that and not had myeloma. I've got better and better at taking help. I was really bad at it when I was first diagnosed. I still wanted to do everything on my own, and I wanted to show that this hadn't affected me and that I was going to be the same person that I'd always been. But I quickly learned that I needed to take that help and that I couldn't do it all on my own. And actually that most people want to be able to do something and they can't do anything about the cancer. So actually if they can pick your children up from school when you're shattered, or you've had a terrible emotional day at the hospital, or the chemo's really hit you for 6, if you've got people that you can call on at that point, that's invaluable. And because as much as it is about me, it's not just about me, it's about everybody that's around me. I think it impacted my friends and family nearly as much as it impacted me, if not more for some of them. I started up my blog right in the early days, and for me I think it was an opportunity to sort of pour out my heart a bit and write a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily want to say out loud to people. It's a really useful way to write things down, whether you share it with the internet or whether you keep it personal. I think it's a really useful way of just getting things out and clearing things in your own head as well, because sometimes they get confused, but when you write them down they tend to sort of sort themselves out into a pattern that's a little bit more easy to deal with. I actually stumbled on the Myeloma UK website, and that was the best thing that ever happened because it's much more structured, it's much more factual. It felt like something that was closer to home and that was more realistic to what I was going through. And actually at the time what I found then that I joined was their discussion forum, and that was probably a changing point for me because using their discussion forum I was able to make friends with other people of a similar age to me, who also had families, who were worried about work, all the things that were going through my head at that time of how I was going to cope. And those friends were my lifeline. They were the people that sort of pulled me around and made me realise that you could still have a life with myeloma. It wasn't the end of everything. When I was first diagnosed, I wished that I had known that research would move on at the pace it has done. I think I am so confident now that things are going to change in the future, and that as and when I relapse, there will be other options out there for me that when I was first diagnosed weren't there. And I think that's why I was so scared in those early days, because there weren't that many treatments out there. I'm so grateful to places like Myeloma UK and to all the people that fundraise for them and support them, because without that, I don't think we'd have the future that I think I now can look forward to. Oh, I could have done that as well.
10.